first of all, I wanted to ask, does it have any play history?
It does not yet have any play history.
Okay.
That's going to be, but now that I have it in a coherent or semi-coherent form, I am going to start
Right.
getting play on it.
Putting it in a few pages like this is a big piece of it, is just to have a sort of a one spot note dump place. And one thing that I will say is that I'm not too surprised, because it reads, and since all we have is reading, there's no play to refer to. It
Right.
reads a little bit like well, that's a good idea, I'll stuff that in there. Well, that's a good idea, I'll stuff that in there, kind of, approach. Um,
Right.
Now, the only way to do this properly then is for us to uh, actually get practical. Some people that I consult for, especially people who've had no contact with my notions, I have a different approach that I take. You can see it in consulting. I have kind of a gentle introduction to
Right.
what I mean and why we're doing it and all that. And with your permission, I'm just going to skip. I'm blowing right past that. We're
That's
going.
fine.
Yeah, we're going to practicality immediately. And so
Sounds good.
that means that both of us are going to make up some characters, or a character
Okay.
apiece. I
Okay.
know that, there's a game master and there are players, but that's not quite what I mean. We're both going to pretend we're players, and that the game master is some dick.
Right.
So,
Sounds good.
um, so I have here. Now you can have a 4x6 card if you want to, because I know you really like them. I'm
I
just
know.
going to
I
use
do.
I'm just going to use the edge of my page. Um,
That's fine.
so we have here, um, let's see. Yeah, one is the data and one is the scroll, which is great. I'm working on our data now. So
Okay.
we begin with a name and a title, and with reference to a topic that we should discuss sooner or later, which is Orientalism. I'm going to make up a completely ahistorical Oriental sounding name,
Okay.
Hoji. And God help me if that means something awful in any
Right.
language. So, and then I have a title, and so I've got to make it a
So,
it's a three-peat. I have to have three names: enlightenment, status, and honor.
right.
Um, and so, sort of a spiritual word, a sort of a social word, and sort of a kind of where are you in life relative to morality word, whatever you want to call
Yes.
that. You think up one and I'll think up one. All right.
Okay. Okay. I'll name my character Kai.
Okay.
That's pretty
Mm-hmm.
simple. And then a seeking generous captain. My current title.
And I'm changing the name because for some reason, as I went through the words, I switched gender. So my defiant exiled princess is now Hokyo.
Okay. I like that. I like that. That's good.
Princess for honor is interesting. I confess. Okay, well, we don't want to debrief. I'm just working my way through here. So
Right.
now we've got our paths, and we
Right.
have to, and we'll deal with that in a moment. Tells us what it is. Weariness of 12. That's good. Now you talk about a deck. Apparently there are cards.
Okay. So the cards come in when choosing, um, determining your legacy. Um,
Right, but right now we don't use them in character creation, except for one thing.
right.
And I also wanted to point out it refers to the deck. Is there only one in play, or does everybody have one?
There's one in play. Right now, there's one in play.
Okay.
Because the reason for that is that everyone will have a specific nemesis card, the
Right.
Jack of Diamonds, the Queen of Hearts, whatever,
Sure.
um, for reasons.
Okay, that's fine. So the point being that I just pulled out a deck, but the one you just ran and got, that's our deck. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
So then let's see. Everybody's got weariness of 12, and then we've also got uh, Okay, here we go. Legacy paths, and then a scroll with 12 locations,
Right.
and it says assets are people, places, things, and ideas or conditions. Each has its own card. Do we start with that stuff? Oh wait, here it is. Choose the path. 654 to the paths. Choose the legacy. And then, so do you have like a list of legacies that are already listed by cards and suits? I mean, in theory.
I don't have that. In theory, there is, but I do not have all that written down.
No, that's fine. That's what I mean. But hypothetically, yes. So let's just
Yeah.
go ahead and spitball at the moment and say that I have a legacy, and it's going to be that wants to be remembered for. Well, of course, I want to be remembered for my rule of uh, the many-headed serpent throne,
Okay.
right?
Are you someone who intends to rule um, in a kind or cruel way,
Um,
or do you know that yet?
yes, I want to my character's defiance, but the fact is that the kingdom is misruled, as the setting has already told us. And
Right.
a matter of fact, I might as well go back to the setting where there was some stuff in there. Um, the Empire. There we go. So no, I got you. I got you. I'm going to say I'm going to restore the wisdom of the lotus. Right.
Okay.
The lotus needs wisdom, and I can rule that part of
Oh,
things, um,
excellent.
and help, as it were, you know, rein in the dragon of all of its nasty little excesses, I suppose. So let's
Okay.
see. To rule wisely and serenely, rule as the lotus, I guess, or of the lotus, or however you want to put it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's my
Then
legacy. And so then I
we
suppose
will.
we'd make a card for it, or
Yes, you're going to be the King of
King of
Hearts.
Hearts. Okay.
Yeah.
King of Hearts. Now, then there is a nemesis, and
Right.
so therefore you can determine the nemesis. It says determine the nemesis with the scribe, and we
Right.
might as well say the can it be a person, or is it an organization, or what's the best way?
Um, so it can be a number of things, and this is where it can get a lot of fun. I hope it could be. One example is there's a plague in the land, and whenever you show up to places, the plague is almost follows you around.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're the kind of character who's looking to be a healer, for instance, say, I want to heal the land in
Well,
a
you
very
can't
kind
heal
of
the land
serene
unless the
way.
land is freaking sick around you at least some of the time. So,
Right. And so
yeah,
your nemesis is this plague. It's constantly getting
right,
in your way.
right. Well, I'm going to say that it's the spies of the current Lotus Court.
Okay.
Right. So, Lotus Court spies. So, therefore, I could be spied upon. I could be kidnapped. I could be, they could decide to do away with me. They could, when nobody's looking, stuff like that.
Right. So your nemesis card is going to be the Jack of Hearts
Jack of Hearts.
because
Gotcha.
it's the same court,
Right,
the
right. Uh-huh.
hearts.
But a
Uh,
subordinate part. Yeah, yeah.
yes. Right.
Okay. And then it says fill in the first two slots on the scroll. First is where the character comes from. Second is the event that created the nemesis. Okay, well that's easy enough for me. So, I come from the uh, Royal Lotus line that was uh, uh, the actual Royal Lotus line,
Okay.
as opposed in implication to whatever filthy pretender or regents or
Yes.
whatever are currently in power. And then also the second is the event that created the nemesis, and that would be, of course, the coup that this is all getting maybe a little tight, but it's supposed to have created the Nemesis. So I would just say the Palace coup, that was actually a while ago. I don't want the thing where like she had to flee the court in the middle of the night. I'm saying that she's kind of arisen out of nowhere and said, I am, the princess. And she is, of course. But the point is that the Palace coup has been in place for some time.
Yes.
So Palace coup some generations ago. So it's not like her old nurse is going to say, oh, I recognize you, or anything like that.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so then we got those. A player can choose one asset for their least powerful path. Good. My least powerful path is my status, and but I need an asset for it, and so I'm going to say the few loyalists or the few idealists who have hearkened to my existence.
Yes.
Right, they're out there. And then I'm going to take you as an asset too in a minute, but let's get you up to speed before we do that.
Right. So the name's Kai. The title is a searching, generous captain. Mm-hmm. Let me do my paths. So my status is actually going to be my highest, with my enlightenment being my lowest. Let's see. And
that's a nice contrast. My honor is my highest and my status is my lowest.
Right. His legacy, what does he want to do? Well, he actually wants to be the most powerful merchant on the coast, or along the Great River, actually. He wants to be the most powerful merchant along the Great River. So I am going to... He's in some ways neutral on the idea of the dragon and the lotus.
Right. No, it makes perfectly good sense. We're going to be each other's assets. It doesn't mean... I like the fact that the legacies aren't just joined at the hip.
Right. I'm going to give myself a legacy of the Ace of Clubs. So people, as a sort of a neutral style, or a neutral type of the way to look at it, because he wants to be a Isserie's guy. And his nemesis, interesting, where do we want to go with this? I'm going to say that his nemesis is paper money. That they're with the newer regimes have been issuing script paper money, and he's an old school capitalist, I guess. He would like to go back to the gold standard, or whatever,
or at least some kind of concrete exchange that you can go and use around.
Right. Yeah, I mean, barter is fine. I can give you 3 cows for some silk fabric, but I have no idea I have no idea what this picture of the emperor is on this piece of paper.
Interesting. What? Okay. This is not game critique, except perhaps later, but as your fellow player only.
Right.
I would like you to actually have a fictional entity be the nemesis. So what you said is fine, but how is that actually actually, is there a person, a particular money-oriented person, or a business rival, or a squad of people whose job is to enforce the new currency, or anything of that kind?
Right. I think that's where I'm going to go with that. Is the I guess exchequer, or the new not minting, but the printing. People charge the money.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Called the imperial exchequer, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly. Yeah. That's.
and so the monetary bureaucracy.
Right. You got to pay. You got to pay in that shitty script in order to dock here. That
Right.
kind of thing.
Exactly.
Right.